Hello everyone, today is Monday again, which means we have a dev sync. We'll share the updates on the development side through the last week, and I hope it will be useful. Justin, let's start with you this time.
Yeah. So last week, continued getting people onboarded onto the FarmNet. Started reaching out to more of the community members. Reached out to just shy about 20 so far. Gotten some good feedback from them, and continuing to iterate that feedback into the farming little README we have, and just thinking about further processes as we move forward. Also took some time to help Ozgun try and work on the release for the Subspace desktop. Looks like we are still having some minor issues, so I'll be hopping on trying to help figure those out this morning as well, to get that going is kind of our next priority as far as the FarmNet goes. Also spent a decent amount of time last week preparing for the community all hands meeting, which I'm sure you all were there and it's decently informative, I hope. Working on collecting some feedback from that so we can continue to improve on that side of things as well. To be honest, I did take up a decent amount of my time last week. So really it was just focusing on the FarmNet and helping out with any issues users had and preparing for that meeting. Moving forward, I'm going to hopefully try and get the release out for Subspace Desktop and help Ozgun out with those code signing issues he's having. And then get users onboarded onto the Subspace Desktop once we can get that release, and start getting some good feedback and testing on that as well.
All right, on the code signing side, you've created a draft pull request on Subspace. Seems promising. When do you plan to finish it and make it ready for merge?
I was getting ready to add the variables and everything, the GitHub secrets rather, to that last week, and then I thought everything was working, so I just want to make sure that I have the proper variables, on like the Subspace desktop because they're effectively the same certificates. So I'm gonna work on making sure that the Subspace desktop signs properly, and then I'll get that added in to that draft, and we can get that merged in for the binaries as well.
Okay, let's try to make it this week. I think we'll make another snapshot because there was quite a bit of changes on the main branch. So it's about time, and would be nice if you make it with signatures this time. So it's easier for macOS users especially.
Definitely, yeah, I'll make that a priority. That way they don't get all those pop-ups and everything like that, and should help with the farmer's experience.
Okay, thank you.
Of course.
Other questions to Justin? Okay, Liu Cheng, you're next. You had quite a few changes.
Yeah, sure. So last week I continued working on the test framework. The subspace test runtime and the service has been merged. The series test framework is done as well, and I have created the PR. It's waiting for the review. In that PR, the state mismatch issue between the executor authority node and full node was also fixed, and a test was added accordingly. Yep, that's basically everything done in the last week, all about the test framework and bug fix for the series. So this week, I'll try to figure out the fraud-proof generation problem again. Apart from the security matters, there are also some other new features on the to-do list. Perhaps we could discuss about them on the protocol thinker call. Yeah, that's all my updates.
All right, sounds good. Any questions to Liu Cheng? No? Ozgun, you're next.
Sure. From last week, my 90% of the time spent on desktop app. Other 10% was on testing the supranational's changes. So they did 2 updates to the code on Linux and macOS. Sorry, on Linux and Windows support. But we still cannot run OpenCL integration with Linux and Windows. Also, I tested integrated graphics with Intel on my MacBook. It's also not working. So we need some other changes from supranational so that we can integrate that updated version to the sloth. On the desktop side, we spent a decent amount of time with Leo working together. We finalized the plotting progress changes and merged it into main. And also we identified several issues or bugs. 6 of them are resolved, which are the most problematic ones. There are some minor issues, but most of them are back burners, so they are not priorities, I can say that. Other than that, I'm trying to integrate the node into the Subspace Farmer so that it can be a standalone application. We don't need to open the node in the terminal. I did a proof of concept of running the node without any parameters. It's working, but we need parameters for configuring the node. I'm stuck on that phase, spent a lot of time, but couldn't figure out. We also spent the time on it with Nazar. I asked him some questions, but I'm still stuck, so I will need further help on that, probably. Other than that, a lot of time on the test side, I mean the CI side. We had to improve GitHub CI tests for the Subspace desktop. It went well. There are no problems anymore with the tests. So it was hanging a bit for the yarn build command, and it was getting stuck, and the tests were canceling. We had to restart them all the time manually, which was a painful experience. It's solved now. Also, we updated the publish YAML file. The current situation on the desktop release is we got a release for Windows and Linux. They are fine. On the macOS side, the code signing is creating a little bit problem. I posted the issue on Discord, and Justin is aware of that, so we can keep working on that and improve that. When it is solved, the release will be completely ready for all the platforms. Right now, again, as I said, only macOS is waiting for the bug fix. And after the integration of Node is merged to the main, I'm planning to release another version. This release will be a pre-release because it's not a still standalone app. But after the Node integration, it will be a full release. That's my plan for the next week.
Okay, so on the sloth library, we basically have no benefit of these OpenCL changes. We can still run only NVIDIA on all platforms.
Yeah.
I would suggest you to try installing proprietary drivers of AMD on Linux. At least make sure it runs at least somewhere, because we don't have AMD support anywhere.
Yeah.
I think we need to push supranational again to provide us instructions how they get AMD working on their Windows. Seems to be something special we are not accounting for. And did you test after latest changes on Intel side on Mac? It still doesn't work?
Yeah, after Intel graphics, it doesn't work as I recall. I can try again.
Okay, Jeremiah, do you remember if that was part of the agreement to get macOS working, or was it not the priority?
Not on M1, I believe, but
No,
on
just
normal.
Intel Macs, the older
Yeah,
ones.
Intel Mac should. Yeah, that's part of the scope for sure.
Okay, so we need to push on that as well and get it.
Or sorry, no, it wasn't M1. It was the whatever their metal framework is for GPUs. I think that was not included, but it was supposed to work across
Right.
Mac processors.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Interesting. All right. So that's on the library side. On the node integration side, a few things. There is this CLI data structure. There is actually a method on it called from iter. You should be able, I think, to provide a list of arguments just like you do in CLI and make it parse from those arguments. So you don't have to mess with constructing this.
It would be great.
Data structure with private, not exposed data type that you cannot physically specify.
Okay.
So that will be one. The second one is you will probably have to create an alternative chain spec and provide it. Otherwise, you'll not be able to join the network. So make sure you actually switch to the latest snapshot when we have it of
Yeah.
the subspace and use chain spec from that. So the chain specs everywhere match together.
Okay.
Otherwise, you'll not join the network.
Yeah. Okay.
So just account for that. You should be able to specify chain spec from the outside. If not, we'll have to make it happen.
Okay.
That will be confusing. Otherwise, it will not work.
Thank you.
And on the otherwise, if you have problems with Node, just reach out to me. We'll need to get it fixed because it takes way too long.
Yeah.
Any other questions to Ozgun?
Yeah,
I
just
got a
a
question
second. Oh, go ahead, Leo.
about this slow archiving problem we were having. Did you discover any clue in there?
No, the priority was to get a release and fix the publish and test CI, so I didn't have time to look onto it.
Okay.
I think I know where it comes from. If you go to the cargo toml in the root of Subspace monorepo, you'll find at the bottom that we provide release profile overrides for different crates or debug profile overrides for different crates. So we actually enable optimizations for some crates even in debug mode. So that archiving, for instance, works actually faster. It will take like 2 orders of magnitude difference for the archiving process. It will take milliseconds instead of seconds. So I'm not sure if it's not propagated, if included from the outside. Try to copy that blob of like lines of dev profile overrides into your Tauri application and see if it makes a difference. I think it should.
You mean the part of the cargo toml?
Yes, the root cargo toml where you have these overrides for dev profile
Okay.
or debug profile.
But yarn build, I believe, is for using the release, not debug.
If in release, it should be fast. If it's not released, that's the answer. So I don't know.
Okay, I think it's for release. Okay, we will check.
Okay, sure. If anything, create a thread in Discord to figure it out.
Yeah.
Jeremiah had something.
Yeah, just regarding the GPU issues with Supranational, let's just make sure that we're communicating those back to them as soon as those bugs are identified quickly so that we can get it back in their court to work on.
Yeah, we are always replying and updating them. So we just need to maybe ping them again. But they are aware of that it's not working and why it's not working.
Okay.
So
Okay, great.
Okay.
That's perfect then. Disregard what
Yeah.
I said.
Okay, Leo, let's switch to you once you worked on the desktop side.
Yeah, I don't want to repeat all the Osgun's discourse right now, but we were talking in there, and we are soon to have this release. But we also updated the Polkadot apps with to fix a problem with the block search feature. We have a missing parameter in there, so you can now query blocks, and the Explorer will return the correct information in the front end. And I was also working with the examples repository. I think that for today I have this NFT integrated with search template for saying some way. Yeah. So this week, more than Subspace desktop, I will be working in there, going back to the examples repository, and maybe working also in Subspace JS, I think. Yeah. And probably fixing a minor fix, like Osgun said, some icons problem and things like that in the desktop application.
All right. Questions to Leo?
Are you also going to be working on the automated builds for the relayer front
Yeah,
end?
for the relayer. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Okay, sounds good, Leo. Thanks. Ivan, you're next.
Yeah, sure. So within the end of last week, I was focusing on finishing up the onboarding process, finishing up with the coupled execution. So basically, I've read the fraud proofs paper and also almost finished the flow paper. Yeah, one more to come. There is a lazy ledger, which I plan to finish until the Wednesday, and I guess after that I will try to get on board it on the in terms of the code side on the Subspace. So yeah, that's my plan for the week.
Awesome, is getting closer to actually writing some code.
Finally.
Great. So we'll be able to discuss all those papers on the call we have scheduled on Wednesday, right, Ivan? Or I guess Thursday.
Yeah,
for you.
of course.
Yeah. Great. Okay. Looking forward to that.
Awesome. Serge, what's on your side?
On my side, I was mostly working on feed validation. Specifically, I asked on element parity bridges channel what was the transition block for grant per finality. So far, no reply, but yeah, I will keep trying. And after our meeting on Thursday, I was trying to make some progress with decoding of the proofs. And I created an issue for Polkadot.js because I thought it's supposed to decode it as same as other structs. But as Jaco replied, the RPC returns bytes, so Polkadot.js returns bytes. And so no issue on Polkadot side. And I had to check Substrate source code, and I managed to find the struct in the source code. So basically, currently the plan is Relayer will just submit those proofs as bytes, same as we submit everything. And on pilot feeds, we will decode it into the struct. And this struct contains a hash, block hash, justifications, and something else, I forgot. Yeah, so next I'm gonna work on pilot feeds, actually decoding that finality proofs, and if it works okay, I will submit them for verification. And today I submit like a PR, which is a draft PR at the moment for Relayer, yeah, where I implemented this RPC call for verifications, so for proofs, finality proofs, and some related updates. But yeah, we cannot merge it until we merge changes on pilot feeds because it will break Relayer in production. Okay, so on Subspace examples, I did some minor updates in the README, and yeah, I sent it over to Justin to test it if it's clear enough. And for Subspace.js, I created an issue, as we discussed on Thursday, for extrinsic status. And I also had this issue we discussed previously with Nazar or with FarmNet node, but I didn't save logs, so I restarted it again, and now I'm saving logs into the file. So hopefully next time it happens, I will provide more details. And yeah, on Near Hackathon, I didn't do anything yet, but I hope after feed validation, I will start doing it. That's all.
Thanks, Serge. I think I'm the last one here. In terms of updates last week, updated Substrate, there were a few useful changes there to the snapshot from the February 16th. Also did some changes to root blocks and also like some simplifications, and also made it actually panic if we have the archiver exiting for some reason or crashing. I think this can be the reason of those problems that we've seen on the FarmNet, where some nodes think that should be some root blocks and others are convinced that there shouldn't be. I think those that think that there shouldn't be any blocks are actually have archiver crashed, but they have no indication of why that happened because we don't have logs, and I don't see any obvious reason. So the next snapshot will just crash the whole application, so we'll see it right away, very clearly. After that, I was doing some tweaks and fixes and work around the changes that Luchain did. We had some discussion about that back and forth. All that was merged. we were able to switch to the nightly, latest nightly, using the new Substrate update. We don't have to use the hard-coded version anymore. And I was doing a bunch of research on the networking side, how we can integrate the custom sync mechanism to use our DSN. Turns out it's kind of not really possible right now. The reason for that is that sync process is actually inside of the networking implementation, not the other way around. Like, it's not sync process that depends on the networking. And there is actually a plan from Substrate forks from Parity for a while to actually decouple that. And there is an issue, and there is a pull request which is like work in progress. I asked an update about that, and they are planning to have something merged this week, like the first steps, but it will take probably several weeks to actually get it done. Until then, it's very deep in the implementation. We cannot really have access to it. There is actually a way to kind of do something sort of what we need. There is a way to export blocks in Substrate, both in binary and JSON. Basically take blocks and like write them in the file one after another. And then you can import those blocks into your chain. So what we can potentially do, we can add another CLI like mode for the node. You can start it with like network sync command. It will go connect to the Subspace DSN, pull all the blocks it can. It will import those blocks and just shut down. And you can start the regular mode after that when you are like pre-synced. This is kind of the best we can do so far. I'm not sure that is the best idea, but this is a viable option if you want to do it at all. Otherwise, we'll have to wait and do something else. But I think I have a much better understanding of how the networking is actually working in Substrate right now and what the limitations are. And Parity forks are aware that we are trying to do more unorthodox things around Substrate that no one else is supposed to do. So I think we will figure out some API that will make it possible eventually. I think that is the summary of what I was doing. Any questions to me? Silence. Okay, Jeremiah, do you have any closing thoughts before we stop recording?
No, I got a few things I'll discuss after that.
Okay, thanks the team for great work. Thanks everyone for watching on YouTube. We'll see you in one more week. Bye.